Welcome to Sweet 16, where we watch the sweetest 16 minutes of gameplay and have a little chat about what we're seeing. My name's Angharad Yo, and joining me from the ABC Gamer team is Joe.
Hello.
And Jordan.
Hello.
Okay, so Joe has brought us something today. Joe, would you like to tell the class what it is?
Yes. So today we are looking at Dune Spice Wars, which is a 4X strategy game. For people who don't know, the 4Xs are explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate.
I have never heard the term 4X before. Is that like a thing?
Yeah. It's like anything that's like Civilization X-esque is a 4X.
Yeah, right. In my mind, I just think of those as strategy games, and I love them, but I've never heard 4X before.
Typically, the difference between sort of a real-time and a 4X is real-time's kind of maybe like just a singular battlefield. And then a 4X tends to have, whole countries or areas or civilizations or, whatever it may be, planets. And then you kind of like expand out so that they tend to be much more grand in scope than a real-time strategy game.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, this is great information for me to know what to look for because I love these games.
Good. So this is like just starting a match at the moment. You have 4 factions you can choose from. You've got the Fremen. You've got House Arrakis, House Harkonnen, and the Smugglers. I went with the Fremen because apparently they could ride the worms, and I wanted to do that.
Why would you ever play anything else, honestly?
Exactly. I never got to ride the worm, though. I couldn't figure out how.
Okay, so I probably should ask you both up the top as well. How much do you know about Dune?
I've read the first book. I don't even know how many books there are, but I've read the first one.
I have seen the movie, and I'm a fan of Tim Chalamet, and that's the extent of it.
Okay, I know basically nothing about Dune other than sand, spices, and worm.
That looks like it's all here.
Yeah, that is all here at the moment. So you start off, and you have to find some spice and set up find a little village near the spice and start harvesting it. Is kind of your first objective.
So Age of Empires style.
A little bit, yeah.
Who's leaving spice lying around like this? Isn't it super valuable?
Yes, it's the most valuable thing in the universe.
Well,
So are there multiple resources to collect, or is it pretty much just a spice-based economy?
There are multiple resources. So if I can direct your eyes to the top left, that's kind of the whole resource area. You can see there's a little slider on the left, which is like gold and purple.
Mm-hmm.
As you collect spice, you can set how much of that slider of the spice is sold on the stock market, and the price for spice varies. So sometimes you might want to hoard it and then sort of pump up how much you sell when the price is good. So that gives you the gold, which you can then spend on a variety of things like units. You also have plascrete, which is basically what you use for building stuff.
cool.
You have humans. I'm going over it now almost. Plascrete. You have manpower, which you need for hiring people, and you have water. And you also have authority, because there is a whole like political system to it all.
Wow.
So this is giving me big time humankind vibes, which also, like, to be fair, humankind was big time civilization vibes.
Yep.
But humankind being a little bit newer and updated, that's kind of what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, I mean, the sort of 4X strategy staples is economy and politics and military and all that stuff.
Do you know if there are any bonuses to like the house that you choose? So like the Harkonnens, they were quite brutal in the film. Are they like war heavy? Do they come and like mess you up quite a bit?
Yeah, they all have different perks. I can't remember what they all are off the top of my head, but some of them might like not suffer a penalty for taking over a village, or you can peacefully annex villages. I think one of the perks of the Fremen is you can create alliances with, I think they're called Sieches, which are basically little rebel people that hang out in caves, but you can create alliances with them across the map, even if they're not in your territory.
Cool.
So there's little things like that.
Yeah.
All of which, on my first playthrough, this is the first game I played, kind of mean nothing. You're like, I don't know how useful that will be. I don't know what I'm doing.
Were you disappointed that there were only 4 factions? Because I'm used to there being like quite a lot in these types of games.
Not really. Apparently there are more factions coming, or at least another faction planned. I think for the lore of the universe, it makes sense. I don't think I would want them just creating stuff that didn't make sense.
Yeah. Do you feel like you need to have knowledge of Dune in order to enjoy this, or do you think it's just like a solid 4X game?
I think it's a pretty solid 4X game. Like I say, none of us here are super experts. Like I've read the book, I understand the world.
But you're not a super fan or anything.
I'm not like a super Dune fan, no, by any means. But I like the general premise of it. You know, there's giant sandworms. What's not to like about that?
Are they like a force to be reckoned with? Do they appear on the map and just tank your settlements?
They do.
Yeah?
So as you can see, this settlement here, I finally found a village. Took me long enough. That I can then go capture, and then I can set up the spice things. But you can see it's kind of on a rocky outcrop. So that rocky bit is the only bit you can build on. If you have troops that are kind of just hanging off in the sand, a worm tends to come along and just eat them.
Wow.
So there's a few times I just had troops sitting somewhere, and I'd be like, where did all my troops go? And they'd been eaten by a worm.
Horrifying.
So the rock basically stops the worm from coming up.
Yeah. So that's like a safe haven for buildings and troops to sit on.
That's actually really stressful.
Yeah. So here I've skipped forward a whole chunk. That was like the first 5 minutes of game of just like exploring. And now this is like the last 8 minutes. So basically what I've been doing the whole game is you try and go around and capture as many of these villages as you can. As you can see, the combat's kind of real time. You have these little guys just having a fight.
That combat very much reminds me of StarCraft. Just the little health bars, and they look like Terrans.
It doesn't look super exciting though. Like, skirmishes don't look super fun.
No, I mean, these kind of games are very much more in your head, I think, than on the screen in a way.
Okay.
Like you're planning out your political dealings and your military strategies on a broad scale. So it doesn't translate so well into like a quick 16 minutes of exciting gameplay.
Sure. Tell me, obviously they're trying to capitalize on the success of the movie last year. Is there voice acting, or do they have any cast members, like famous voice actors?
Is Timothy Chalamet there?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any Chalamet.
No buy.
I think there is some voice acting. There's like typical kind of strategy voice acting. There's not a lot of story or anything at the moment. There is an intro cutscene, and there is a campaign coming. I should say this is early access as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so this isn't the finished game by any means. The campaign's not here. It's not even multiplayer. It's just sort of this AI skirmish mode at the moment.
Did they just rush it out because of the film, do you think? Like, why?
No, I think it's just, it was ready to go into early access. These kind of things are better to, I think, get out there, get some community feedback on the balance.
Sure.
Let people have some input.
I feel like campaign modes aren't always the strongest kind of element of these types of games anyway. People want to play the skirmish. At least, for me, 99% of what I play in a 4X game is skirmish and just kind of like that open play. So I get it. And it looks pretty fleshed out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the basics are all there. You can play this and you can have all your 4X fun for now without having to worry about a whole story mode and everything.
Was there enough complexity for you? Because for these types of games, for me, I really love to kind of delve in and get into the nitty gritty and figure out like the best way to be efficient. Did it have all that, or did it feel too simplified being that it's early access?
No, it's definitely pretty complicated. Like you just saw there's actually like there's a whole politics system. What I didn't realize at this point is I'd already basically lost. House Harkonnen had been voted to be governor.
I love that.
And once you're governor for 60 days, that's a political win.
Oh.
Incredible.
And the other way you can win is like by conquering everything or getting enough hegemony, which is basically just you get points for the more stuff, the more troops you have, the more things you own. The better you're playing. I just moused over it now. So for water production, enemy units, all that stuff counts as hegemony. If you get 25,000 of that, that's a win as well.
I kind of love that system. That's cool.
Feels like a board game.
Yeah, and there's all these cool little like political. There's these agents, espionage and agents and
espionage stuff.
Yeah, every few days you have votes in the politics system, so you can sort of vote to screw over a house a little bit or make your house more powerful, depending on how much influence you have is how many votes you can cast. So there's quite a lot of complexity and little systems which I had no idea what I was doing with any of them, but I enjoyed kind of figuring them out in this first game.
Damn. So like, are there ample tutorials so that a layman like myself?
Oh no, there's very little tutorial.
Oh,
It's kind of like because it is early access.
right.
That's why he's losing.
Yeah, that's why I'm losing without realizing. I thought I was doing all right. I was like, oh yeah, I've got all this territory. I had like plans to go start conquering stuff, and then I was like, nah, you've lost.
I love that about these types of games, though. I love that it just takes time to learn and figure out what it is you're supposed to do.
Yeah, for sure.
The map is huge. Are you expected to conquer the majority of territories, or is it just you fulfill one of the victory conditions?
Well, I mean that's one victory if that's what you want to do. I don't think you're expected to necessarily.
Sure.
You're kind of meant to obviously build up whatever alliances you can, whatever military you can, and win in your own way.
I feel like that hegemony, if I'm pronouncing that
I
correctly,
think hegemony is
huge Gemini,
Huge Gemini.
kind of lends itself to a slow burn gameplay. Did it feel like that or nah?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely quite a chill experience. Like, the military aspect of it is very minimal. I mean, you can see I've got 25 out of 26 units going on at the moment. So that army is basically as big as I can make my army, at least at this point.
Oh, that's tiny.
Yeah, so it's pretty tiny. You don't have a lot of units to worry about at any one time. I guess I'm sure you could probably make that bigger if you invest in the right research and things, but it's not really the focus of it. You have to be very focused with what you're doing with your military. You can't sort of just have like a giant war going on multiple fronts, really.
Especially when you have to vote for things and jump into menus while war is waging.
Yeah. And also what's kind of happening at the moment is to take over a village, you need influence, which is that little house looking thing up the top. And I only have 50 of it. And as you take over more things, it costs more to take over the next thing. So I'm just kind of like waiting to take stuff over. And it's at that point eventually that I just lose because I was just sitting there going, well, I'll just chill and take it easy and eventually I'll win. But I did not.
You're literally just spinning plates. This game seems very stressful to someone like me.
Well, I mean, it's stressful in a way because there is a lot of things going on that, obviously on my first playthrough, I didn't understand, and the tutorials are still kind of pretty minimal, so it didn't explain a lot of stuff. I'm just figuring it out. But that's the joy, as Rad pointed out. It's really fun to kind of learn the ins and outs of what's actually effective. I don't even know what I'm building at this point. I'm like, I guess I'll build these things. Yeah, I guess that's good to have, probably.
I don't have one of these yet. Do you play lots of these games, both Joe and Jordan?
I don't play a ton. Like I enjoy a bit of Civilization every now and again. Probably the 4X game I've played the most of is like the Total War games, because I'm more of a real-time strategy guy. So I love that they've combined the 4X with the real-time strategy. Mm-hmm. So I'm drawn to those.
And how about you, Jordan?
I tried Civilization, I tried Humankind. I don't have the patience, unfortunately.
You don't love a spreadsheet?
I don't love a spreadsheet. I even tried Crusader Kings at one point, and that was too much. So much reading.
Well, that is complicated.
Yeah.
I tried that as well. I was like, oh my God, this is a lot.
Yeah.
These types of games are one of my favorite genres. I can just really get into them.
Wow.
But I gotta say, I'm not sure that this one's grabbing me. Like, when you've got Humankind, which is finished, for one, and wonderfully complex, I'm not sure why you would come and play this unless you're a massive Dune fan.
Yeah.
Well, I think what this does differently is it's a bit more bite-sized, at least from what I played. Don't know if the campaign will be different. But, this, like, a game of Civilization or Humankind is kind of something you'll have ticking away for, a week or more. You could, it's something you can keep coming back to, whereas this is like within an hour or two, that game's done. A bit more, concentrated into a single experience.
That's fair. And that is attractive. Like, for example, I almost don't play normal mode in Dota anymore. I almost only play turbo because it's a lot faster.
Yeah.
And there's something satisfying in that as well.
Mm.
Yeah, so I could see this as something you might, have a video game, board game night with some people and be able to actually have a match that's finished
Yeah, that sounds cool.
rather than a game of Civilization that stretches on for ages, which is great in its own way. I love having those kind of things you can come back to when, you're thinking about during the day being like, how am I going to take over Africa?
I don't know that you can say that.
Well, I mean, I'll take over America or take over Europe, whichever parts of the world you need to conquer.
Joe the Conqueror.
I don't know that you should be war criming anywhere, Jojo.
Peacefully take over, peacefully. I wasn't going to war crime anywhere.
I mean, he didn't here, clearly. Defeat has occurred.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that was happening. I was like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, that was so sudden. You were just doing your own thing and you're gone.
Yeah, but I was keen to jump back in and keep trying.
Well, thank you for showing off Dune to us, Joe.
You're very welcome.
What did you guys think of Dune? Did it tickle your fancy? Do you want to get spicy? Are you going to go ride a sandworm? Let us know in the comments below. Get involved, and we'll see you next time for more ABC Gamer.